I believe strongly that the experience of trauma at its heart is the experience of powerlessness. And when it comes to the ways that males experience trauma, it's often not intuitive to think of men in our society as powerless. But actually, when men experience a trauma or a victimization, especially sexual abuse, that's one of the most significant ways in which men and boys can be made to feel powerless. On top of that experience of sexual violence, however, then we have to look at the ways in which boys grow up in a culture that doesn't allow them to talk about it or to reach out for help. And that actually can aggravate a lot of the challenges that men and boys face and make a lot of their symptoms worse over the long run.
This week on the Shame Free Life podcast radio show, we will have a candid fireside chat concerning 1 out of 6 men.
Today is about the power of you.
We can be whatever we dream.
You're locked into another episode of 15 Minutes of Shame. Each week, we'll help you rebuild your life one brick at a time by addressing real-life issues from a practical and biblical perspective.
I had to believe in myself like never before.
This is the Shame-Free Radio Show.
Finding a solution to become the greatest.
And now your host, minister, author, grief and trauma support specialist, Dr. Ronald Zion Roseboro.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is it.
Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are from coast to coast and from around the globe. You are locked inside of another installment, live inside of the Shame Free Life podcast radio show, 15 Minutes of Shame. I am your host, Ronald Zion, and it's a pleasure to be back with you once again. And we will delve into this necessary, needful, vital topic once we pay some bills, and we will return in one moment. Have you ever felt alone and life is out of control? Perhaps like a sailboat at sea in the midst of a tsunami. Well, you're not alone. Here at the Shame Free Life, LLC, we offer services in trauma recovery, crisis intervention, and empowerment coaching. We operate in integrity, confidentiality, empathy with coaching ethics. Contact us at theshamefreelife.com or email us at contact@theshamefreelife.com. You may not be responsible for your injury, but you are responsible for your healing. Let us help you rebuild your life one brick at a time, because your life begins when you say so. And we are back. Christopher Anderson, who graced us in the very beginning of this podcast, who's one of the leading spokesmen concerning male trauma, specifically sexual abuse when it comes to men. According to 1outof6.org, 1 out of 6 men have suffered from sexual abuse, sexual violence as a youth. Now, this seems to be somewhat of a taboo subject. However, I think that it is now becoming more of a forefront topic, as well as it should. Abuse, regardless of who is being victimized by the abuser, it is completely and totally unacceptable on every single level, male, female, child, regardless. However, when it comes to sexual assault, sexual abuse, when it comes to men, this seems to be a subject that we steer away from, or we don't give it its full coverage as we should. Because regardless of the one who is being victimized, it affects us all indirectly. especially those men who are connected with women, whether it is obviously the mother, the grandmother, the aunt, the cousin, girlfriend, wife, daughter. These women are indirectly affected by what he went through. Not only that, the community is affected. And if we take it a step further, the city and the state is affected. And moreover, the nation is affected if this trauma is not healed. And we do a good job as men. We camouflage the reality of what happened to us, whether it was at 5 years old, 7, 10, 12, 13. And what happens when we begin to suppress that reality of being victimized, oftentimes by someone that we know, someone who has direct access to us, a family member, a church, or church member, or the pastor. And we can see, even in dealing with the Catholic Church, that countless men who have been abused as youth are coming forward, as individuals in the Protestant church as well. Boy Scouts, they have been hit with a class action lawsuit, which is public information, as it relates to boys who were abused in their troops by scoutmasters. So these boys that grow up to become young men, and of course the young men begin to grow into adulthood, yet where they were injured at that particular age, that is the age that they are emotionally, oftentimes. So it's that lack of maturation, that takes place because of the trauma injury of being sexually abused. And secondly, we have to also look at the shame that is attached to that. When women are abused sexually, it is a shame that clouds them. However, being the communicators that they are more apt to speak out, to talk out, to work out the trauma injury to their souls as it relates to sexual abuse. They will surround themselves with a cloud or a circle of support to help them walk out this trauma injury on this road to recovery. But as men, oftentimes what we do, we shut down and we don't talk, and because to divulge what happened to you, even at an early age, it seems to be a non-masculine approach. So we begin to shame one another, and we even joke about what happened. And so it only magnifies the shame that the young adult or the adult male has to face. Not only that, how do I tell my woman, how do I have a conversation with my wife about what happened? There's a shame attached to that. And she can be one of the most integral parts of our support system if we would have enough faith and allow ourselves to be transparent and vulnerable in the moment to even divulge what happened to us. But for many men, countless men who find themselves sexually abused, they begin to find themselves at a crossroad. To the left, I can go down the road of homosexuality. To the right, I can go down a road of misogyny, promiscuity, as it becomes as it relates to women, just multiple partners to prove and to myself that I am a man, to prove to myself over and over again that what happened to me, I am not responsible and that I am not a homosexual. So the more numbers that I get, the more women that I bed, it proves to myself over and over that nothing is wrong with me, that I am not gay. And so for many men, they live in a perpetual prison until they are released. And for those men who go in a different path of homosexuality, it's because sex has been presented to them in such a perverse way at such an early impressionable age that now they process this type of sex as being normal. And so we have to guard the minds of our youth. We have to protect our young girls and our young boys from those who are injured themselves, who go on a warpath to injure others. So when we talk about sexual abuse, it is real because 1 out of 6. So the next time that you find yourself in a supermarket, the next time you find yourself just walking down the street casually, or if you are in the midst of multiples of people, just begin to count 1, 2, 3, you, 1, 2, 3, you at every single man that you find. And at the end of it all, that will point to clearly 1 out of 6. 1 out of 6 men that you will meet. So 1 out of 6 men in a relationship. 1 out of 6 men that you will find in a prestigious job. And so one of the aspects of suppression and medicating the pain, the brokenness, and the injury of the trauma is to indulge in codependency, other forms of addiction, whether it's addiction to pornography, addiction to sex, whether it is addiction to alcohol and drugs, addiction to becoming a workaholic, addiction to buying the latest gadgets, the most expensive toys, cars, boats, motorcycles, clothing, sneakers, jewelry, etc., to again prove to yourself over and over and over and over again that I am a man, that what happened to me, is not my fault. And I've got to prove to myself that I'm a man. I have to have evidence that I am a man. And it is a losing battle. It's almost like having a paper bag and you put in money in the paper bag, but the paper bag cannot collect the money because it has a hole in the bottom. So the more toys, the more gadgets, the more money that you earn, the more status and achievements and attainments that you get, the more women that you bed, you have to have more and more and more, and you're still empty. You're still unfulfilled. So let's talk about when we engage in this conversation of 1 out of 6, that we all need to have a conversation concerning this trauma injury, this form of post-traumatic stress disorder. I want to talk about 5 ways, in my humble opinion, of how to heal from sexual assault injury. And I know what I'm talking about, not just from a place of academia, but also from a place of experience, because I know what it means to be abused at 5 years old. I know what it means to carry that shame and the stain of the abuse. I also know what it means to be mocked and scoffed at by neighborhood neighborhood boys, neighbors that found out about it, and how that mocking and scoffing, it begins to erode at your blossoming masculinity, even as a child, as a young boy, and how it incarcerates your mind and your spirit from self-discovery, self-awareness, self-love, self-validation. So you begin to look outwardly because you have no inner resources on the inside. So you look outwardly for validation. You look outwardly to be approved and affirmed. You look outwardly for things and people to validate your masculinity and manhood. And it is a torment from the enemy. Well, I want to definitely cover within these 15 minutes of shame, and we'll go over, obviously, 5 ways to heal from sexual assault injury. Number 1, acknowledge it. We must acknowledge what has happened. We've got to face it. Well, first we have got to trace it. Then we must face it. Then we've got to erase it and then replace it. But nothing will happen. The remedy or the cure will never occur if we do not face the reality of what happened. We can no longer sweep it under the rug. We can no longer act like it didn't happen when we know that it did happen. And for some men, it have happened on more than one occasion. Because when we suppress the reality of what happened, now we're living in a fantasy, and we deal with people who come into our lives on that fantasy type of level. And it's unfair to you, sir. It's unfair to the women that are connected to you because they're not getting the best from you because you are not being the best version that you can possibly be for yourself. So we must acknowledge it, coming out of denial, which means to just break the silence from within before you even move to a phase of breaking the silence from without. Breaking the silence from within. Facing off with the horror that happened to you, the injustice that happened to you, the evil and wickedness that happened to you. And once we get to the first phase of acknowledging it, now, number 2, table the ego. We must table or shelve our ego, which is pride. You know, there's a verse in the Bible that says that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And it is the pride of a man that keeps him from a place of humility, and it's that humility that will usher in liberty.
God, today.
We've got to table the ego. We've got to put the ego on mute. We have got to duct tape the mouth of ego when it comes to our own freedom and inner liberty. Because ego would have us think, you know what, I'm good. I don't, man, that's been so long ago, I'm good. But it has affected almost every relationship that you've had with every woman. But you say that you're good. I'm good, I'm straight. You say that you're good, but you are drinking heavily every single day. But you say that you're good. Man, I'm telling you, I'm straight. You say that you are straight, but here you are living a perpetual lie every single day. You have become something that you're not, that you were never designed to be. You haven't even scratched the surface to become the best version that God have created you to be. You haven't even moved into a place of emancipation from the inside out, yet you proclaim that you're good, but your practices says something different. We've got to table the ego that keeps us in a place of inner bondage, that keeps us in a place of denial. That is an enemy, the ego is, to your freedom. Number 3, find therapy. Find therapy. You notice I didn't say find therapy as being the number 2 position to move into before tabling the ego. We'll never look or seek out help until we get the ego out of the way. Once we remove the ego, because we have acknowledged the trauma, now we don't have any obstacles or opposition to go and find help. Oftentimes, help is not going to come to you. I'm not saying that God cannot arrange. Yahweh can arrange a way for you to intersect with help. I know that for myself. You're just minding your own business and here comes help. You're just minding your own business and someone knows someone who happens to be a therapist, who happens to be a counselor, who happens to be a psychologist, who happens to be a life coach. And so now they connect you to, they hook you up with this person. That was a divine intervention. But many times, if not almost all of the time, we have to be proactive when it comes to our own freedom. We have to be at a place of saying, you know what? I'm done. Not another day. Not another moment, not another second will I remain in this place. And when you take on that type of proactive mindset, you just begin to just draw the help, the assistance that you need to assist you on this new journey to become a new person by dealing with old trauma. Being proactive, finding the help. It's amazing how we have no problem in finding drugs. We have no problem in finding the next drink, finding the next party, finding the next pair of sneakers, finding the new outfit, finding a new woman, finding a new bed partner. We have no problem in finding the next gig to make more money. But when it comes to our own emotional, mental, and spiritual health, we oftentimes drop the ball. We oftentimes become lazy in finding help to assist us on the road to self-discovery. You cannot make it on your own. There is no way that you can make it on your own. If you're looking at it just from a natural standpoint, as amazing as Michael Jordan was, as amazing as LeBron is, as amazing as Steph Curry is, you name your favorite player, Deion Sanders, whoever, they need a supporting cast in order to win. There's a winner on the inside of you, sir. There is a winner that is waiting to break forth. But you have taken so many L's, you have taken so many losses in your life because you're trying to do this by yourself. But when we become proactive and find help, that's when you find your safe place. That's when you find your most intimate space to now roll up your sleeves, put on your hard hat, your tool belt, and your work boots to go to work, to destroy that which needs to be destroyed. The false perception of who you are, the false understanding of who you are, and begin to build a new you. Number 4, how to heal from sexual assault injury. Number 4, find your inner support circle. Find your support circle. Your therapist, your life coach, you can place that person in your circle. Who else can you count on? You know, oftentimes when you are sexually abused, there's a hard, cold callousness that's a reality in trusting men. Because you were violated by a man. So why in the world should I trust a man when the first man that I had confidence in violated me? So I get it. It's hard to trust men when you've been violated by one. But the one who violated you is a faulty representation of a man. You never came in contact with a real man who doesn't want anything from you, a real man who wants for you what he wants for himself, a real man who can see that you are an amazing superstar of a man that's on the inside. And it's his job to help to aid you, like Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan, to aid you in becoming the much better version of you that you haven't even seen yet. So our support circle is the supporting cast to make sure that you are held accountable to when it comes to inner healing. They're there to root you on. They are your fan club. They are there to make sure that you're putting in the work, and they are there to support you in all of your endeavor in becoming a much better person, a more healed and whole person. So the support circle is so necessary. You cannot build a house. And one of the coursework materials that I actually have, online coursework, building a house when life throws you bricks. You cannot build a house with one person. Every general contractor knows that you've got to have a supporting cast of your plumbers, of your electricians. You got to have your flooring guys. You got to have those who can clear off the land, and those who can level the land. Those who understand how to build a firm foundation, one that can withstand the test of the elements, the rain, the wind, and the floods. You have to have a supporting cast of those who understand painting and drywalling, framing and sheathing, roofing, all of that. All of these individuals that have a different type of specialized genre. They are needed in your life. You need those individuals from a psychological standpoint, emotional standpoint, physical fitness that are, make sure that you're working out. Those who understand nutrition, that falls within the same category. You've got to have those who walk in the spirit, those who are spiritual. All of these individuals who have their own specification in helping you to rebuild your life, rebuilding your inner spiritual house, your physical, emotional house. They are needed because you are on the construction site alone. You got to have a support circle. And finally, number 5, access God's grace. You have got to access God's grace. And let's go to the scripture for this. In Isaiah 61:1, the Spirit of Yahweh, the Most High God, is upon me, because he has anointed me, number 1, to preach the gospel to the poor. He has, number 2, sent me to heal the brokenhearted. Number 3, to proclaim liberty to the captives. Number 4, the opening of the prison to those who are bound. Access God's grace and his strength to be able to help you do what you cannot humanly do by yourself we're still talking about removing the ego, getting the ego out of the way. Because what happened to you that damaged your home, this storm that happened in your life in the form of sexual abuse that injured your home, that destroyed your home and left you in ruins as a boy, as a teenager, and as a man, now you're supporting cast. They are helping you to rebuild your life, to rebuild your inner house in such a way to whereas it will look 100 times greater than it did before. But when you access God's grace and strength, once you have the inner circle, once you have the life coach or the therapist, now you need to access the grace and the strength of Almighty God to be able to now bring you the good news. You've had enough bad news. Now it's time for some good news. You've had enough bad things to happen. Now it's time for some good things to happen. Because the word says that he came to preach, Yeshua came to preach the gospel or the good news to the poor. What you have gone through in life have left you poor and bankrupt spiritually, bankrupt psychologically, bankrupt emotionally, and oftentimes bankrupt physically because of the trauma. It has produced a stress on your body. But the good news is that the bad news is over.
God today.
Number 2, he came to heal the brokenhearted. Your heart has been fragmented. Your soul has been fragmented because of the injury of the trauma by way of sexual abuse. So he has come to heal you in that area, to make you whole again. And number 3, to proclaim liberty to the captives. It's time for you to be free. You're a captive oftentimes and don't even realize it. Yes, you're making money. Yes, you're looking good. Yes, you're smelling good. Yes, you look like you got it going on, but you are a captive. You are held captive to your past. And number 4, the opening of the prison to those who are bound. It is time for you to be loosed into liberty. And he has come to open up the prison doors, to open up that prison door of shame, to open up that prison door of embarrassment, to open up that prison door of anger, that now you don't have to worry about striking another woman. You don't have to worry about going out in the bars and just looking for a fight. You don't have to worry about participating in another gang. You don't have to worry about just being angry and just walking around with this ice cold grill on your face. Nobody can say anything to you. Just mad when it's sunny. You're mad when it's rain. You're mad when it's snowing. You're just mad. Why? Because those prison doors are still closed. You're still locked in. But Yeshua has come to open up those prison doors that have you bound and incarcerated, to proclaim you to be free, not on a furlough, not on a weekend visit. No, to be free and free indeed. Because you may not be responsible for your trauma injury, but sir, you are responsible for your own inner healing. And I hope that this broadcast, this podcast has been a blessing to you. And definitely follow me. I'm on all the social media platforms. The best way to contact us is to go to the website, theshamefreelife.com, theshamefreelife.com. And if you need counseling, if you need one-on-one counseling, group counseling, then this is the venue for you. This is the place for you. If you need an online course to help you stay on course, if you need an online course to get you on course, everything is there at theshamefreelife.com. And like I always say, that your life begins when you say so, because you haven't seen the best version that you can possibly be until those prison doors are open. Until next time, peace, love, and I want you to pursue purpose like never before, because this is your time to be free.
Thank you for joining us on the Shame Free Life radio show for 15 Minutes of Shame. Follow us on IG and Twitter at Shame Free Life. For information on promoting your business with us, contact us at theshamefreelife@gmail.com. Until next time, your life begins when you say so.